Good evening to each and everyone. This is our next part of our topic. This topic talks about the people behind philosophy, the earliest philosophers that exist in the world, the core foundation of all the philosophy. They have a very basic questions in mind and they want an answer for that questions. So all of them existed in Asia Minor, which is located at the northern western tip of Turkey, and some of them located at the mainland of Greece, in ancient Greece. So we need to dive in. So the name of this philosopher is also known as the Pre Socratic Philosophers, and they are divided into monism and pluralis. Monism meaning it talks about a single objects or elements, and pluralis talks about multiple elements or more, no? Or things. So the pre-Socratic philosophers, reality is one. We have the so-called Thales, followed by Anaximander, Anaximenes, Pythagoras, Heraclitus, Parmenides, Zeno of Elea. And for the other part, reality is many, meaning Empedocles, Anaxagoras, and Democritus. So let's dive in. So this is the map that I have told to you. So this is what we call an Asia Minor or Turkey nowadays. The western tip of it is the origin of all the earliest philosophers in the world. Basically, the western tip of Turkey in 6th century BCE is part of ancient Greece. There is no such thing as Greece during the time, but it was called as ancient Greece. Okay? So let's move. Who is the first philosopher? The first philosopher is Thales, or also Thales of Miletus. You will not pronounce it as Thales, because if you are a Greek, you will pronounce it by syllables. Some of them call it Thales. If you are in America, they call it Thales, but we can call it Thales. Thales of Miletus. So he was located in Miletus, which is nowadays it's a part of Turkey, but that is part of ancient Greece in the 6th century. So Thales, he was the founder of Milesian school. It was named after him. As you can see, Milesian, meaning Miletus. So if you enroll in Milesian school, meaning the director of the school is Thales of Miletus. He believed that the ultimate composition of all things is water. Okay? For him, the ultimate element is water. First thing, 70% is water that found on earth. Water is the most necessary things that we need in order to survive. Second is food that we eat, which is very correct. No? It kind of makes sense for everybody that for him that the most ultimate element is water, because the earth is composed is more than higher percentage of water compared to the earth, no, or land. And second is water is essential in order to survive, the things that we need, because we could survive with water without food, but with food without water we cannot survive, because we might choke, no, when we eat something meat, no, we cannot able to digest the food that we eat if there is no presence of water. So it makes sense for everybody that water is very important. Okay? He believes that there is a unifying principle of the universe, and he called it arche. No? Arche meaning the beginning. Okay? So if you talk about arche, the beginning, meaning he explained it in a sense, in a logical reason, because during that time they didn't have a sophisticated instrument, no, to measure, to know about more about the heavenly bodies or the things that found outside the earth. I'm talking about space, no, the infinity of the space. So with the use of logic and reason, he created what we know as arche, that there is the beginning, no, which is the source of all the elements on earth, and even the source of human existence on why human started. He called it arche. No, it has something to do with science, but he could not able to display it in a scientific way. But it is some kind of an elements, no, that comprise of all the things in order to produce water, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is what arche is all about. So he defended that water is the ultimate and powerful element. The next one is Anaximander, a student of Thales. He believed that the unifying element is not water. He called it apeiron, or boundless. Apeiron, it is not easy to explain. For it to make it simple to understand, according to Anaximander, there is an element which is more powerful than water. For him, there is no water without the presence of apeiron. There is no fire without the presence of apeiron. There is no wind without the presence of apeiron. So meaning, there should be more powerful than that, and it is boundless. No, he couldn't explain it clearly what apeiron is all about, but for him, that is something that cannot be seen with the naked eye, but it has a contribution in order to make the water appear, and it could make the fire appear. It could make the earth crust rises up the ground, and it could make also the wind blow more stronger. So for example, if the water and ice is fighting together, there should be an apeiron in between them. So you cannot easily put out the fire without the presence of water, and he already defended that water source is apeiron. And it's not easy to explain about it. Even the modern philosopher, they couldn't comprehend what Anaximander's mind is inside. No? The only thing that he could defend, that all the sources of element is apeiron. Okay? He believed that planet moves the way he observed the sun and moon. Okay? Even though they have a sophisticated instrument during the time, but they logically reason out that the planet moves the way he observed the sun and moon. Because technically speaking, the light is moving. The night sky is moving. There is morning and there is also evening. In that sense, he able to logically reason out that maybe that the planet will move, and sun and moon have a stationary position, no? But he couldn't able to explain it scientifically because they have limited resources, they have limited instrument. But the good thing, he able to logically reason out about this. Look at how intelligent those people during that time. So we can consider them as the main foundation of philosophy because of that reason. He also studied what proto-evolutionary human anthropology. What is this about? The origin of all the species in the world. No? So it started from the sea, which is scientifically and technically speaking, which is correct. If we try, we're not basing the theory of evolution of Charles Darwin, but in a sense of other scientific explanation that the microbes, no, or the amoeba started from the sea, and they evolved into fish, and then after millions of years, these microbes and fish become amphibians, and they then landed on the land. They became reptiles, and they became mammals, and then eventually they become birds with have feathers. So that is proto-evolutionary human anthropology is all about. No, long prior to this, modern scientists able to found out the modern evolutionary theory, Anaximander already had laid the foundation of this. And he is also known as the first metaphysicist, because he questions about the reality, because he questions about the existence. That is why Anaximander considered as the first physicist. Let's go to Anaximenes. He is the student of Anaximander. He believed that the source of all things is air. You cannot able to breathe without air. It makes sense. That is why I believe this is the ultimate element of all. No? Just imagine if there is no air, we couldn't breathe. We will die in vain. So air is the ultimate of all. Without air, the infrastructure could not stood, no? Because it is made of something air, but right now, nowadays, they can call it oxygen. But because of limited resources and instrument, they couldn't able to explain scientifically. But for him, with the use of logical reasoning, air is the ultimate of all the elements. Which is makes sense as well, because we couldn't breathe without air. Which is very different to Thales. We couldn't live, we couldn't survive without water. And according to Anaximander, the only powerful rather than air and water is a peyron, because there is no presence of air and water without a peyron. No? But the something wrong is that he couldn't able to explain what a peyron is all about, as long as this is the origin of all the elements, no? Like that, some sort of that. Okay. Rarefaction and condensation. This is how he explained that everything started from air. From fire, it created smoke. From smoke, it created steam. And steam is air. It makes sense as well. From stone, it created dirt. From dirt to mud. From mud, it created water, and water to mist, and mist to air. It makes sense as well. Imagine that one, through the use of observation and logical reasoning, they able to come up with this. This is how intelligent these people are. No? So let's have another one. We have Pythagoras of Samos. He is a mathematician who obsessed with numbers, and for him, the most ultimate of all the entity is numbers. He even ascribed a special meaning to numbers. No? For him, number 3 is the most powerful numbers. No? Because the pyramid of Giza consists of 3 sides, and he signifies it that this is very strong foundation of numbers. He is very obsessed with numbers to the point that he even also measured the steps that he took. No? And he able to give approximation of how many steps will it take before reaching from point A to point B. So that's how Pythagoras is so very obsessed with numbers. Even drinking water, he able to measure that one with the use of his fingertip, and he able to incorporate that with numbers. No? Numbers, numbers, numbers everywhere. Even if he is sleeping, he is still imagining that the numbers is floating around on the air, that the sky is being mathematically explained with the use of numbers. The clouds will not form with the presence of numbers, because according to him, all the things around us can be measurable with the use of numbers. Even the movement of the wave, the height of the wave, the strong current of the wave, the dripping of the water, there could be a numbers. Even the way human talks, we can measure how many words and letters we will deliver every time we talk, and how many words would it take before it will reach thousands of words per second or something, like some sort of that. Is very obsessive of numbers. And he even applied numbers on music, and that is why music is so confusing all that sometimes. But for you, if you are expert in music, we will appreciate that one. But music has numbers, because notes is numbers, beats is numbers, no? So we cannot able to harmonize everything from pitch, timbre, tempo, whatsoever you will hear terminologies from the music. It always boils down to numbers. Okay, so every time when you about to start the music, the drummer is always the one, is the signal man, no? So he hit the two sticks, the drumsticks, to signal all the musicians that we are about to begin our musical piece. It has a number. Everything is number according to Pythagoras, and he's the founder of Pythagorean theorem, and everybody knows about it. The hypotenuse, the altitude, and the base, no, that we can able to measure the right triangle. It is very useful in civil engineering. He believed totality of reality can be explained by mathematical laws. All the things around us can be explained in numbers. Okay, so let's have Colophon from the Xenophanes of Colophon. Xenophanes, he doesn't believe in anthropomorphism. Okay, anthropomorphism is a belief in which the God is in the form of human person. He said that he doesn't believe, meaning he doesn't believe that God is in the form of human person. God is God. Person is a person. Human is human. So always remember that. So Xenophon is trying to fight this one. He fought against with the other religious entities, because the religious leaders during the time, they're trying to fool someone by claiming themselves that they are God. But Xenophon said, you are not a God. No? So don't claim that you are a person sent by God. God is God. No? You can say that you are only a preacher of the believers, but you shouldn't claim yourself that you are a God. So his belief is very unique from others, because the previous Pre Socratic philosophers, they were fighting about the elements, and this one is very unique. Okay, he criticized Homer and Hesiod during his time that portrays God in human form. So gisaway niya ang mga writers during that time, because he is very particular with anthropomorphism, and anthropomorphism shouldn't be condoned. No, we shouldn't tolerate anthropomorphism, because we are trying to fool someone in order to put themselves in a comfortable situation for position, no, in terms of politics, no. So iya yung gidepinsaan. He believed that there is only one God, which was identified with the ultimate basic stuff that was self-moving, imperishable, and the rational basis of the universe, the source of all things. Self-moving. Self-moving, the unmoved movers, according to Saint Augustine, no, philosopher. He is a saint and philosopher. This is some quite relatable to ontological belief of Saint Augustine regarding about God, no? If the God was being moved by someone, he is not a God. It should be that he is a mover, but he is unmoved. So that is what Xenophanes talks about. I guess you could easily heard my voice right now because it is raining cats and dogs outside. I hope everybody don't hear anything, no? We have here Heraclitus from Ephesus. Heraclitus is enigmatic and dark philosopher. He believed that fire is the single original element because fire could destroy everything. Fire could change everything on its path. Because of its destructive nature, fire is the ultimate element. And he also symbolized fire as every time the fire scattered all around from the surface, he simply interpret that one in real life, that everything in our life has changes, no? And the only can able to change anything is the changes itself. So that's how we able to explain that one. Reality is always changing because he observed that the reality around him is, why is it the climate changing from time to time? Why do human change from young to old one? This is very common. Basic kayong question gid niya, no? Na may kausaban. So meaning ang realidad di ay naday kausaban. Even me, he said to himself, I can observe myself now as a person who have a wrinkle on the forehead. Way back 10 years ago, I don't have any wrinkles on my forehead. Meaning, I change, no? I change 10 years later. So there is a changes in physicality, even emotions, and even mental capability will also change. If human change, the surrounding will also change. As you can see, from olden days up to the modern world, this is a very simple, no? Basic observation, no? Reality is always changing. He proposed that everything that exists is based on a higher order or plan, which he called logos. If you try to review the previous philosopher, we have the so-called arche from Thales, no, which is the beginning, no, which is the source of all things. And he described as that one as molecules that comprises all the elements that that exist nowadays, no? Without those arcane, there will be no other elements will exist in the near future. But for Heraclitus, he called it logos, meaning word, W-O-R-D. He proposed that everything that exists is based on higher order or plan, which he called logos. Because of this word or W-O-R-D, everything changes. With the use of this logos, everything changes. No? The ground change. People change. The logos, to be exact and to make it more simple, he called it also knowledge. Because the more knowledge we acquire, the more we able to progress from time to time. And those knowledge contains word that needs to be more conveying and persuading to people, no? So the more it is more informative, the more it look like more challenging, and it will also help the person to ask more questions and become more progressive as the time goes by, no? So the logos itself has its change as well, because the more knowledge you possess, the more progressive you are, the more we can see clearly that there is changes, no, happening, no, within you. Next is Parmenides. As you can see, he is too far away from the mainland. He is from somewhere from Ilia, part of this is modern day Italy. For him, the reality is illusion. He believed that it is impossible to create concept if it is nothing. Always remember, say for example, if someone asks you, where is your friend? I have no friend. I have nothing. So if you say nothing, which means it doesn't exist at all, meaning that is an illusion. The nothing in nothingness is a product of illusion. It is impossible to make something or create a concept that the nothing is something that exists, while in fact nothingness is a nothing that the product of illusion. So that's what Parmenides talks about. Very simple na kaya siya nga concept, no? No? Kung maingon kag nothing, you should be consistent that it doesn't exist. No? It is a product of illusion. That is why if you talk someone, you gossip, you hear the gossip, and you talk to other people, and you said, are you sure what you're talking about? Is that story is true? I don't have any idea. For well, if you say you don't have any idea, it is kind of closer to nothing. So which means that your story is nothing, it is a product of illusion. Okay? So, para makasabot mo with the student, nailahing ang philosophers diri nga ato na siyang ma-relate, no? Makabalo mo ana. Okay? He believed that the empty space of RK is nothing, kani. We need to present this in for a moment. I need to switch this one to other monitor. Okay. Inani din siya, my dear student. Ang RK ni Thales is molecules. So let's say for example, this is molecules, this is molecules, this is molecules. And these molecules, these small elements, is one of the foundation on why there is a presence of other elements. And why is it universe exists? No? Parmenides questions that if you say nothing, meaning that is a product of illusion. And he questioned the previous philosophers, if there is a spaces in between those molecules and it is empty, meaning it is nothing. So he questioned the previous philosopher, why do you able to create such molecules or elements or whatsoever? What is that? Well, in fact, in between of that elements is nothing. So which means, basically speaking, those molecules came from nothing. So which means those molecules that you are talking, or the elements that you are talking, is an illusion. Pero na lang kung maingon ka, ang kaning naa sa tunga, na in-exist ani, meaning, I cannot able to provide that those sort of things is nothing. Because in between of those arcade, he call it arche, but to make it simple, he signifies it as a small element that comprises all the elements in the world. Ngano na yung mga elements, ngano ni-exista, because we are made up of molecules, like that one, so on and so forth. We are made of smaller particles fit together, and why we able to exist, and why is it the reality is all around us? Why is there a sky? Because it is made of small particles fit together. But Parmenides is trying to question, what is the empty spaces apart, no, that putting apart these molecules? If this is empty spaces, this is nothing. And nothing is related to nothingness. So which means those molecules is illusion. Because the main source of these molecules is the empty spaces, and that empty spaces is nothing, and nothing is the nothingness that is a product of illusions. So he believed that the reality is an illusion. So later on, there is another philosopher defended Thales. And we will know that later, who is that person that we are going to talk about. Okay? So let's switch now. Okay, so let's present again. Swap. Okay, so let's continue. Zeno of Elea. Zeno of Elea is also believe that the reality is illusion, no? Because Zeno is a student of Parmenides. Kung asa naliwat, kung saang sanga, mausad ang bunga, no? So the loyal defender of Parmenides that the time and motion is illusion. So meaning, he put an addendum or additional information to support the claim of his teacher that the reality is illusion, no? The paradox of emotion. What is paradox? A paradox is a situation in which supposedly it is believable in a sense, but in reality it will not happen. Okay? It is believable in a sense, but in reality it will not happen. That is paradox. Example, the paradox of water and diamond. We all know, supposedly dapat ang water mahal kay available man, unya dapat ang diamond barato kay gamay raman. Pero paradoxically in a manner, dili siya inana. Ang diamond nga gamay mo'y mahal, ang water nga dagan mo'y barato, and that is paradox. Okay, so I guess everybody could easily grasp a knowledge about what paradox. And Zeno of Elea has the paradox of motion. So let me explain to you by giving you an illustration of this, because we couldn't easily grasp a knowledge about this without explaining it, no? Okay, so he proposed an example that defend his claim that time and space is impossible. He called it the paradox of motion. So let's say, for example, this man is walking from point A to point B. Before reaching the point B, this man would take half kilometers before reaching 1 kilometers of point B. Before reaching half kilometers, this man should cross halfway, which is 1/4 kilometers from the half to the whole of point B. And this one is so on and so forth, 1/8, dinasad 1/12, and then so on and so forth. And to tell you honestly, numbers is infinite. So this is raise a questions how this man could able to reach from point A to point B. Well, in fact, the distance from point A to point B, it pertains to numbers, and numbers is infinite. Because the infinity of numbers, it is impossible that this man able to reach the point A to point B. So which means he is somewhat like traveling, but he is not traveling at all. So meaning motion is impossible. Since motion is not possible, time is also useless. And motion and time is relatable to space because you are traveling. There is a space. You eat up every spaces every time when you step. No? The more step you took, the more space you surface. So since traveling point A to point B is kind of hard to defeat the infinity of numbers, motion and time and space is impossible. Therefore, reality is illusion. Grabe kay thinking, no? Reality is illusion. Mao na siya, my dear student. Mao na explanation ni Zen of Ilya, and he defended his teacher. No? There is a sense, no? Although it's kind of strange and stupid, no, to debate this one, pero na siya sense bitaw gamay, no? Kay infinite man gyud ang time, no? So philosophers good, no? Okay. So let's continue. Let's have the pluralists, no? They believe in multiple elements. We have Empedocles, Anaxagoras, and Democritus. Empedocles from Akragas, which is modern-day Sicily. Everything was composed of 4 elements known as 4 roots. So this time, this person believes that all elements is very important. There could be no fire without the presence of air. No? There could be no earth without the presence of other elements. No? So for example, why is it this soil or this earth crust form into something strange? Because of the force of air and water. No? So meaning each of them provides a significant rule in order the humanity persists to exist in a longer period of time. So that is why the 4 roots is also known as the 4 elements that he take as important. So 2 forces needed to explain change and movement. He called it love and hate. Love that makes us unite, hate that will make us apart. No? So he able to explain and interpret this one in the real life, that love and hate is just like an element. No? Love, we attract one another. If we attract one another, the more the elements, the stronger the elements it could be. No? So for example, not all fire could easily put out with the use of water. There is a possibility that some elements of fire, if you try to put it out with the use of water, the fire will be more grower. No, it depends upon the situation. It needs scientific explanation regarding about that one, but there is some cases that if you forcefully put out the fire with the use of water, it could spread all around from the surface, no? Magkatag siya. Kinamogoy technique unsaon pagpatay sa kalayo gamit ang tubig, no? So naay mga sort of that, no? So hate, it could make us apart, no? Sometimes it could destroy, and he explained this one in the four roots, because some elements could be helped destroy. So for example, love. We all know that water is very helpful because we are using it for drinking to survive. But sometimes water could cause flood, could cause super typhoon, no? In air as well, air could also give us love because we able to feel the breeze of air, the fresh air. But strong air or windy could cause destruction as well, no? Fire is very important to attract couple, no? Because fire symbolizes warmth. But sometimes fire, literally speaking, fire could also destroy things, no? Earth. Earth is helpful because we are situated on earth. But sometimes it could also cause accidents with the presence of other elements, no? So for example, landslide. Na landslide ang earth is because with the presence of water, no? So those opposite things that I'm talking about is hate. Water, we drink the water, and sometimes water become hate because it could cause flood and super typhoon, so on and so forth. So that is why he made up these two forces needed to explain the change and movement of the four roots. We have Anaxagoras from Kalazumene, the first philosopher to be connected to Athens. He replaced four roots with infinite seeds. Yeah? In everything that exists, there is a seed of everything else. Say for example, an element of fire, no? The fire will not easily produce without the presence of air, no? Say for example, you want to produce a fire which is very strong, no? Gusto kag kusugay nga kalayo, ganahan kag presence of air. Paypaya nimo para makusug ang kalayo. So meaning, the seed, in order to create or everything else, is an element to element relationship like that one, like love and hate, parehara kay Anaxagoras, and he call it infinite seeds, no? But the concept of Anaxagoras is, with the presence of other elements, another elements will come out, no? So like fire, the fire will be more stronger with the presence of air, no? Like that one. The rocks become contract and extract, no? From the time goes by, because with the presence of water, mukrak mo gud ang bato, especially if the stone who is closer to the seashore, no? So for example, that stone is a boulder stone, a bigger stone, and then it is situated closer to the seashore. If it is being struck by the wave multiple times, this boulder become a smaller stone or smaller boulder, no? Kaya ang water man good mo ganing naa sa cave natay stalagmite o stalagmite na form siya na because million years ago that underground surface was constantly heat by flowing water. That is why na form ng stalagmite o stalagmite, no? So meaning element will not be more the existence of element or the progression of the element will will be impossible without the presence of other elements, and that is the infinite seeds has something to do with Anaxagoras. And everything that exists, there is a seed of everything else. Okay? The next one is Democritus. This is the person who defended Thales, that the empty spaces in arche is something more important that you could imagine, and that is the smallest of all the particles according to Democritus, and he called it atoms. Atoms is a Greek word which means indivisible. Siya naging pinakagamay, no? If you try to recall what I'm talking about a while ago, Parmenides Parmenides is mocking, no? Iyang gisaway si Thales nga kanay mong arche, nothing na siya, no? Ingon, it is made up. But when I see you although Parmenides is not yet born when Thales become a professor, when he taught some of these ideas to his student, he is not yet born, but he mocked, no, the dead philosopher. So iyang gisaway, no? So the only one who defended Thales is Democritus. The empty spaces that you said is not an empty space. It is not nothing, and it is not an illusion. It is made of atoms. If you may ask, is there an empty spaces between atoms? The answer is no, because atoms is the smallest particles. No? So, si Democritus mo ay nag-defend ni Thales. So, in a sense, this is very interesting to know that even if the person die, there is someone who defended them. No? So the lesson of this topic is, if you have an idea, no, you need to stand on your own, you need to be convicted, you need to be dedicated to it. No? So if you have your idea is not being supported, maybe in the near future someone will support it, and that is very realistic on the pre-Socratic period. He contradicted the idea of Parmenides that empty spaces of arche is real and has a motion. No? So iyang gipatay ang argument ni Elea, ni Zeno of Elea, and also Parmenides. No? Thank you for listening to my presentation. So this is the end of this part, pre-Socratic period. Thank you very much.